The Indiana Fever just proved something that will make every Caitlin Clark and Fever fan's heart explode with pride. While their injured star watched from the sidelines, her teammates didn't just step up. They absolutely destroyed the Las Vegas Aces by 27 points. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Fever hadn't beaten Vegas since 2019, they were missing key players, and the refs seemed to have A'ja Wilson on speed dial. But Kelsey Mitchell, Aliyah Boston, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, Ari McDonald, and Natasha Howard had other plans. Wait until you hear the 3 words Mitchell said after the game that perfectly captures this magical moment. Now we talked about we just made sure that our energy was high, made sure that we were focused, because obviously we know Vegas is a great team and their team are full of winners. And so for us is make sure that we turn the page off to a great Commissioner's Cup success, and then we have to be ready for Vegas, and we were. Picture the worst possible scenario for a basketball team heading into a big game for the season. You're facing the reigning MVP and the defending champions. Your best player is injured. A key veteran has abandoned ship. Your depth players are playing international basketball on the other side of the world. This was exactly the nightmare situation the Indiana Fever found themselves in before taking on the Las Vegas Aces. No updates outside of she's out tonight, so just continuing to work and get her progress and make sure there's no setbacks. I think it's a great opportunity for us, sleep in your own beds for a while, play some games at home. In our home arena with this crowd. It is a great opportunity, but you also can't take the opportunity that you're playing at home for granted, right? We still got to come with that energy, that effort, that high attention to detail, intentional focus, and we've got to build. Caitlin Clark's groin injury couldn't have come at a worse time. The superstar sensation who had completely transformed the Fever's identity was stuck on the bench in street clothes. Clark wasn't just their leading scorer. She was their engine, their playmaker, their floor general who made everyone around her better. Without her lightning-fast pace and court vision, the Fever had to completely reimagine how they played basketball. The team that had thrived on fast breaks and three-point shooting suddenly looked lost trying to figure out their new identity. But that's not all. Tawana Bonner decided to quit the team right when they needed veteran leadership most. Talk about terrible timing. Bonner walked away from her teammates just as they were preparing for their biggest games of the season. The Fever were already thin on experienced players, and losing another veteran left them scrambling to fill roster spots and adjust rotations. Meanwhile, Damiris Dantas was representing Brazil in the FIBA Americup, taking away crucial front-court depth when they desperately needed bodies. Here's where it gets interesting. The Fever weren't just dealing with their own problems. They were about to face A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP who was having another dominant season. Wilson and the Aces had been the gold standard in the WNBA for years. This wasn't just any opponent. This was the team that had beaten Indiana in every single matchup since 2019. 5 straight years of losses to Las Vegas. The sold-out crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse created an electric atmosphere, but even the most optimistic fans had to wonder how their depleted team could compete. The Fever were coming off a huge win against Minnesota that earned them their first Commissioner's Cup championship. But this felt different. This felt impossible. The odds were stacked so high against Indiana that most experts were already writing them off before tip-off. What nobody realized was that this perfect storm of adversity was about to create something magical. Sometimes a team needs to have their backs against the wall to discover what they're truly capable of. The Fever were about to find out exactly what they could accomplish when everything seemed hopeless. Coming off a big Commissioner's Cup win Tuesday, Fever emphasized coming into this one how important it was to keep moving forward, to keep the train on going, to not have a hangover in maybe more ways than one, and they did not. It was a dominant display, bigger than I can ever remember here in recent memory with the Fever, especially when the star player was out. The numbers tell a brutal story about what happens when you take away a team's heartbeat. Without Caitlin Clark orchestrating the offense, the Fever looked like a completely different team. The fast-paced, high-scoring style that had made them so exciting to watch disappeared overnight. Instead of the lightning-quick transitions and rapid ball movement that Clark brought, the Fever were stuck in slow motion. And I think first and foremost, defensively, we've been better. And that's continuing to build consistency in our coverages, have a high attention to detail, and everything that we do. I think our activity, our awareness has been better. On the defensive end as well, we've done a better job of protecting the paint. Now, we still got to improve in defending without fouling. The pace of play dropped significantly without Clark's ability to push the ball up court after every rebound and steal. Games that used to fly by at breakneck speed suddenly felt sluggish. The Fever went from averaging over 90 points per game with Clark to struggling to reach 80 without her. Their offensive rhythm was completely broken. Players who had thrived in Clark's system looked lost, trying to create their own shots. And I think offensively, the ball's moving. Multiple players are touching it. We're getting it from side to side, getting it inside, outside. It's moving a little bit quicker. Our goal is to get to where we play .5 basketball. And when we're at our best, it's moving and it's popping, and ball movement and player movement as well. But that's not all. The ball movement became predictable and stagnant. Clark's incredible court vision and passing ability had made everyone around her better. Without her threading passes through tight spaces and finding open teammates, the Fever's offense became one-dimensional. Players held the ball too long, looking for shots that weren't there. The beautiful team basketball they had played with Clark turned into isolation plays and forced shots. Aliyah Boston felt this frustration more than anyone. The talented center who had dominated in college wasn't getting nearly enough touches to showcase her inside game. Boston's skill set required a point guard who could find her in the post and get her the ball in scoring position. Without Clark's playmaking, Boston found herself standing around the perimeter instead of working down low, where she was most effective. Here's where it gets interesting. Teams had figured out how to defend the Fever without Clark. Opponents packed the paint, knowing there wasn't a deadly three-point threat to worry about. They pressured other players to create their own offense, knowing they couldn't rely on Clark's incredible range to stretch the floor. The Fever looked ordinary against elite competition like the Aces. The team was searching for its identity and struggling to find consistent scoring from multiple players. But Kelsey Mitchell had been preparing for this exact moment. She had 3 powerful words in mind that would define what was about to happen. The atmosphere at Gainbridge Fieldhouse was electric as game time approached, and everything was about to change. They never trailed. They got up as many as 27 points in this one. They kept their pedal down, which is important given what we've seen this season, en route to an 81-54 win. Complete dominance. They pummeled this Las Vegas Aces team. It was a 27-point win, and it wasn't even close. After the first quarter, once again the Fever owned that second quarter in a big way. They outscored the Aces 25-10, which allowed them to go into halftime on top by 22. What happened next will go down as one of the most stunning performances in Fever franchise history. From the opening tip, you could feel something different in the air at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Fever came out with an intensity that caught everyone off guard. This wasn't the same team that had been struggling without their star player. These players looked locked in and ready to prove something. The defensive pressure was immediate and relentless. Indiana switched everything, doubled A'ja Wilson every time she touched the ball, and forced the Aces into uncomfortable shots. The Fever were flying around the court, getting their hands on every pass and making Las Vegas work for every single possession. Players who had looked lost on offense suddenly found their purpose on defense. The energy was contagious, and the crowd could sense something special was happening. But here's where it gets interesting. The referees seemed determined to keep A'ja Wilson in the game with some questionable calls. Wilson was getting the superstar treatment with soft fouls and phantom calls that had the Fever fans booing. Every time Indiana built momentum, the whistle would blow in Wilson's favor. The refs were clearly giving the reigning MVP a special whistle, but the Fever refused to let it break their spirit. Kelsey Mitchell had other plans. She came out scorching hot from three-point range, hitting shot after shot with defenders draped all over her. Mitchell wasn't just scoring. She was making clutch shots that kept extending the lead every time the Aces tried to make a run. Her confidence was infectious, and you could see her teammates feeding off her energy. Mitchell looked like a player who had been waiting for this moment her entire career. Aliyah Boston finally got the touches she had been craving all season. With better ball movement and teammates looking for her in the post, Boston dominated inside. She was scoring over Wilson, grabbing rebounds, and playing with the aggression that made her such a force in college. Boston looked like the player everyone knew she could be when given the chance to play her natural game. The lead kept growing despite everything working against the Fever. 10 points became 15. 15 became 20. The Aces couldn't figure out how to stop this inspired Indiana team. Natasha Howard was everywhere on defense, blocking shots and grabbing rebounds. Her Commissioner's Cup MVP performance was exactly what the Fever needed from their veteran leader. Howard brought the championship experience and defensive intensity that elevated everyone around her. The moment when the 27-point blowout became undeniable reality was electric. The sold-out crowd was on their feet, celebrating every basket like they had just won the championship. Players who had been written off were making huge plays. The Fever weren't just beating the Aces, they were destroying them on their home court. This wasn't supposed to happen, but it was happening right before everyone's eyes. It was our time, and I think we kind of deserved it based on our preparation and everything that we had been to prior to this game, and I think you guys got to see what it looked like for us to stay resilient throughout the course of, 48 hours? We just played, Minnesota, and hey, we got to prepare for this, and you guys have to see what it's like for us to be resilient. After the game, Kelsey Mitchell revealed the 3 words that have been driving her all season. "We deserve it," she said with pure emotion in her voice. Those 3 words captured everything this team had been through. All the struggles without Clark. All the doubt from critics. All the losses to Las Vegas over the years. Mitchell and her teammates had earned this moment through their determination and refusal to give up when everything seemed impossible. The emotional aftermath was incredible to witness. Players were crying tears of joy, hugging each other, and celebrating with fans who had waited so long for this kind of victory. This wasn't just a win. It was proof that the Fever were more than just Caitlin Clark. They were a legitimate team capable of beating anyone when they played together. This victory just gave us a crystal clear preview of what the Fever will look like in 2025. What we witnessed wasn't just a fluke performance or a lucky night. This was a complete team effort that exposed the true depth and character hiding within the Fever roster. Players who had been overshadowed by Clark's brilliance suddenly stepped into the spotlight and showed they belong on this stage. Let's talk about all those doubters who claimed the Fever were nothing without their superstar sensation. Critics said Indiana was just the Caitlin Clark show with a supporting cast. They said the team would crumble without her playmaking and scoring. This 27-point destruction of the defending champions just proved how wrong they were. The Fever have legitimate talent up and down their roster. Kelsey Mitchell proved she's a legitimate star who can carry this team when needed. Her clutch 3-point shooting and leadership in crucial moments showed she's ready to be the second option on a championship team. Mitchell isn't just a role player anymore. She's a proven scorer who can take over games against elite competition. That performance against the Aces was the coming-out party everyone needed to see. Aliyah Boston's dominant performance signals her emergence as a true franchise cornerstone. She controlled the paint against A'ja Wilson and showed the post moves that made her a college superstar. Boston looked comfortable and confident in ways we hadn't seen before. Her ability to score inside and protect the rim gives the Fever a foundation to build around for years. The championship-level defense and team chemistry were on full display against the Aces. Players were switching seamlessly, communicating constantly, and playing with the intensity you need to beat elite teams. This wasn't just individual talent, it was team basketball at its finest. Picture what happens when Clark returns healthy to join this battle-tested, confident group. The Fever are no longer just promising. They're legitimately dangerous and ready to compete for titles. This victory changed everything for the Indiana Fever moving forward. The team chemistry and confidence they built beating the Aces will carry into the rest of the season. Players like Kelsey Mitchell and Aliyah Boston proved they can handle pressure and deliver when it matters most. The Fever aren't just Caitlin Clark anymore. They're a legitimate team built for sustained success. Picture what happens when Clark returns healthy to this battle-tested group. These teammates just prove they can win without her. Now imagine adding her playmaking and scoring to players who already know they belong.